Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Aryeh Strikoff, your Israel Mortgage Insider. At the end of the day, it's crucial to know from the very beginning what your total out-of-pocket cash requirements will be so that you can plan and budget effectively. The two main costs are your down payment, which I covered in a previous video, and your closing costs. Once you have a clear understanding of both, you'll be in a much stronger position to move forward confidently in the buying process. Today is about closing costs, and I'm answering two questions that I get all the time. Can I roll my closing costs into my mortgage in Israel? And what closing costs should I actually expect? The short answer to the first question is, unfortunately, no. You can't roll your closing costs into your mortgage in Israel. Everything beyond the actual property price must be paid out of pocket. This is one of the biggest differences between buying in Israel and many other countries, and it surprises a lot of people. Many buyers start planning based on how things work back home, whether it's in the US, Canada, Europe, or elsewhere, and then discover that the rules here are different and they have to rethink their entire budget. That's exactly why I recommend speaking with a mortgage advisor early, even before you start seriously looking at properties. It saves time, stress, and expensive surprises. Let me explain how it works. In many countries, you can roll all of your closing costs into the mortgage. For example, in the US, if your closing costs come to, let's say, $25,000 on a $500,000 mortgage, the bank simply increases your loan to $525,000 and you pay it back over time with a slightly higher monthly payment. In Israel, that's not possible. None of the closing costs can be added to your mortgage. So when you're calculating how much cash you need for the down payment, you'll also have to set aside money for the closing costs. Now, sometimes you can take a separate bank loan to help cover part or all of those costs. These are usually shorter term loans between 7 and 12 years and are typically at variable prime rate. Banks often offer better rates if you open a bank account with them and meet certain conditions, and I work closely with my clients to explore these options and find the best solution for their situation. So what exactly are the closing costs you should expect? The first and often biggest cost is the purchase tax. The amount depends on your personal status, whether you're a foreigner, an Israeli resident, a new oleh, and whether this is your first or second property. I'll go through the different tax brackets in a separate video. The second major cost is the real estate agent fee. While what agents charge varies, it's generally most commonly between 1.5% to 2% of the purchase price plus VAT. I'll explain that shortly. Occasionally, you can find a property without an agent, and that is a nice savings. Next is your lawyer fee. Lawyers also generally charge based on the percentage of the purchase price plus VAT. Now, while you're technically allowed to use the same lawyer as the seller, I strongly recommend hiring your own. You want someone who is 100% on your side, protecting only your interests. The next cost will be your mortgage broker fee. That's me, the mortgage broker. Most brokers who work with English speakers and foreign buyers charge a percentage of the loan amount, meaning it's based on the percentage of the amount you are borrowing, not the purchase price, usually with a minimum fee. In many ways, more than any of the other players in the deal, your mortgage broker is one of the most valuable to you, as they will guide you through the maze to smoothly finance your buy. They liaise with all the players at each step until you reach the finish line. We are there for you through the entire process, from beginning to end, and even after that. I can't stress this enough. A good mortgage broker is one of the smartest investments you can make in the whole process. We negotiate with the banks on your behalf, help you avoid expensive pitfalls, fight the bureaucracy when needed, and give you peace of mind. I'll make a full video soon explaining why using a broker is money well spent. But back to the closing costs. The next cost will be for the appraiser. You'll need an appraisal for the mortgage. The cost depends on the value and the size of the property. It can run from several hundred to several thousand shekel, and it must be done by a bank-approved appraiser. I help my clients choose the right one. Appraisals are normally done after you sign the purchase contract, but in some cases, it can make sense to do so beforehand, and that is something I discuss with my clients at the early stages. For new construction, in most cases, an appraisal is usually not required. The purchase price is considered the appraised value. It's also wise, though not required, to have an engineer inspect the property to make sure that there are no hidden issues. This is also usually a couple thousand shekel depending. Finally, there are bank and registration fees, including the bank's origination fee, which is currently 360 shekel, and other registration costs. All told, these fees usually add up to a bit over 1,000 shekel. Now, as I mentioned, most of these costs have VAT, or value-added tax, added on top. As of mid-2026, the VAT rate is 18%. So for closing costs subject to VAT, the actual amount you have to pay will be the cost plus 18%. Both Israelis and non-Israelis must pay the VAT. There is no refund for VAT on these costs for a foreigner, as they might get at the airport when buying some other purchase in the country. So to recap, your closing costs include purchase tax, real estate agent fee, lawyer fee, mortgage broker fee, appraisal, engineer fee, and bank and registration fees. The info I provided here should give you a starting point to figure out what your closing costs will be. With each client, I sit down from the outset and calculate an estimate for them so that they can have a concept of what they're looking at. Once you have a good estimate of these costs, you can figure out how much total cash you'll need to lay out between the closing costs and down payment, and with that, you'll be able to pinpoint what property price range makes sense for you. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out to me directly. My contact info is in the description. If you're finding this series helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. See you in the next one.